skill-based training is you want to create more duplication, more freedom. Understand this. The best trained team wins. The best trained team wins. Put that into the comments. The best trained team wins. So if you want to have the best trained team, let me give you I might just give you an example, okay, of this, because we can't go deep today on this, because I want to do this, answer a few questions, and we have a major kind of assignment for you, a challenge for you to be able to step into today before we close up. Once I realized that the best trained team wins, it's not all about hope, and it's not all about hype. It is about skills, ultimately. You got to be competent, ultimately. Your team has to be competent, ultimately. They got to become independent, ultimately. How do they become independent? They only become independent by being skilled. If you're the only skilled one, you can't have more independence within the organization or more duplication. So when it comes to skills, if you come up with a list of the fundamental skills that need to be trained within your organization. What are those skills? Finding prospects, inviting prospects, presenting, following up, closing, getting people started, promoting events. Leadership is a skill, right? Lots of skills that you need to develop. And then 2, why is this skill important? Why is this skill important? What you have to create in people's minds is, what is the payoff if I learn this skill? What is the payoff? And then 4, what is the process for developing this skill? And then 5, what are the rewards for people within our organization that actually do develop the skills? So this is aspirational, this is tangible. So let me give you one as an example, because we're talking about presentation now, right? So I'll tell you a quick story. I had a friend of mine who was struggling with duplication. She lived in Memphis, Tennessee, building an organization, and they were doing weekly opportunity presentations and local presentations and trainings and everything else. But she did everything. She was exceptional. She's exceptional to this day. But she did all the presentations, okay? And she was stuck. If she didn't do the presentation of the training, nobody would show up. People wouldn't respond. She had no life. She had no duplication. She had no freedom. So in this particular instance, we took a look at the skills that were exhibiting in her organization, and she had a huge gap in presentation skills. She was just not in her team. So presentation skill was identified. Why was this such a big deal? Because if she didn't have as many presenters within her organization, she didn't have any freedom. She had no duplication. She had no competence. They were just all dependent little, you ever see those pictures of the little baby birds in the nest with their mouths open? And mama bird is dropping food into their mouths. She was mama bird. And her whole team was just like, with the mouths open. They were not independent flying out of the nest. So we understood why. And then I explained to her the payoff. What's the payoff if we can teach your team, not everybody on your team, but people who are willing, coachable, and hungry on your team to become great presenters? What's the payoff for you? What's the payoff for them? So the payoff was independence, time, freedom, duplication, growth, and income. The payoff for the team was confidence, more productivity, more income, more growth, more rank advancement. I mean, the payoff just became obvious. So we laid out the payoff. Then we came up with a process. I said, I want you to create a presenter training program in Memphis, Tennessee, where I want you to train people how to do these five presentations like we're talking about over these 3 days. I want you to teach them how to do a presentation. I teach them how to tell their story. So here was the process. I want you to take inventory. Who's willing on the team? Who would like to become a world-class presenter inside of the team? Take inventory. Whoever raises their hands, then I want you to connect with those people, and I want you to give them a process to learn how to do that. And she did. It was like a 10-week process for people to become skilled at the different presentations. Now, a lot of people raised their hands. Not everybody went through the whole 10 weeks, but enough did that by the end of that, now, mind you, at the beginning of this process, that when I was coaching her, she was the only presenter with competence. At the end of this process, she had 30 people that she would trust to put in front of the entire company. 30. What do you think happened to her income? What do you think happened to her duplication? What do you think happened to the confidence? What do you think happened to her freedom? Skyrocketed. Just went crazy through the process. And then we rewarded the people who came out the other side through recognition, through incentives, through trophies and certificates and everything else for becoming skilled. And then they duplicated that process. She went on to become a multi-million-dollar a year earner, but she was stuck at like $150,000 a year prior to this. But prior to learning how to duplicate the presentation power within her organization. Totally stuck. So on any skill, if your organization's, if they're terrible at promoting events or closing or whatever it happens to be, we're using presentation as this example. List the skill. Why is this important? What's the payoff? What's the process? And then what's the reward through your organization? You follow this process, everything's going to change for you. Now, I'm going to come to Pat in a moment, but I want to give every single person that's listening to this the challenge for today. The challenge.